Going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be installing a 3-inch leveling kit on a 2013 Dodge Ram 4-wheel drive big edition. First, I'm going to start off by putting this thing on the lift so we can get started. Alright guys, let's see what we got here. Looks like we got the MotoFab kit. Looks like we got the rear coil spacers here on the first side. And then front spacers. It's pretty durable looking. Be pretty interesting. I've installed a kit for this guy once before on a Tahoe he used to have. Very similar to this kit. Comes with the hardware needed for the front. Of course, there is no hardware needed for the back. These are just spacers. Basically, just take the coil off, put the spacer in between the lower coil mount, and that's it. On the front, a little bit more troublesome than that, but it'd be pretty easy no matter what. So let's get started. Next, we're going to unbolt the sway bar from the axle bracket, and then we're going to remove our lower shock bolts. We're going to put a jack under the center of the rear differential. That way we can lower the rear end down to let pressure off the coil springs. Now we're going to take a 19mm socket on the impact and a 19mm wrench to get this lower shock bolt out. Now that you got your shocks removed, next take a 15mm socket and remove your sway bar from the lower axle bracket.
Now take your floor jack and lower the rear end.
Now, as you can see, we safely got all the tension, the spring pressure off of the spring, and we are ready to put our spacers right down here in between the coil and the rear end. What I'm going to do, since there ain't much room there, I got a jack under the center of the rear differential. I'm going to take another floor jack. Since this is the driver's side rear coil, I'm going to take another floor jack and put it under the shock mount on the passenger side and lift the passenger side up in the air to force the driver's side of the rear end down. Now, let's install our spacer. Uh-oh. Wait a minute now. I see a coil spring over there I should have removed. Maybe, just maybe, if I remove that coil spring over there, I can force the rear end up farther on that side and drop this driver's side down farther. Who would ever thought about getting that pressure off that coil over there? Some things we may never know. If that don't work out though, next I'm going to take and I'm going to remove this panhard bar here and see if I can get the flex I want so I can force my coil spring back up in there. Alright, now they got the other coil spring out of the passenger side. Let's try this again. Alright, let's see if that done anything. Like a glove. So, I'm putting these spacers on here. What have we learned today? First thing we learned. Second thing we learned. Be easy on your brake line, okay? Be easy on your brake line. Alright, we're gonna remove this bracket here. That bracket hanger for the brake lines here. You don't want to be hanging off the brake line or anything like that, you know. Then, remove your shock mounts, or your bolt, your lower shock mount anyway. Secondly, loosen and take off the sway bar, panhard bar, and that ought to get you the flex that you put these coil springs in. Now I'm going to start by installing the coil spring on the passenger side. Alright, before I get started on stretching these brake lines on the passenger side, take a 13mm right up in here. Let's see it. And take this hanger bracket off of the brake line right here. You don't want to be stretching brake lines, that's for sure. And then I'm going to take a clip popper, and for this ABS sensor line here, we're going to pop this out to give us a little slack at least to let our brake line flex a little bit. Bad dude right here out. Get him just like so. As I heard once ago, a long time ago, YouTubers used to say like so. Use that flex right there, like so. reinstalling these coil springs, I always like to try to put them in the place, the rotation they was. Go ahead and reassemble the panhard bar, sway bar, and lower strut bolts, not strut bolts, sorry. Put the lower shock bolts back into the rear end and reassemble just basically the same way that we took it apart. So you ought to be able to figure that out, so let's do that. Rear end raised up, front end stock high. We're ready to slap a crappy tune in this thing and go drag racing. I'm going to start by removing the front wheels. Next, you're going to want to take a 16mm deep well socket and a 15mm wrench to disconnect your sway bar links from each side. Now support the lower control arm with a floor jack. Then remove the upper control arm ball joint nut and break loose. Now that we got our upper ball joint broke loose, remove the tie rod nut and also remove it on both sides from the spindle. Now make sure you got everything supported. Take a 14mm and remove 3 upper strut nuts. Remove this 13mm bolt here from the brake line bracket to give the brake line some room to flex. Now once you got everything broke loose, get a 24mm and a 21mm and break the lower strut bolt loose and remove. Next, we'll be taking the supplied bolts and installing them into the billet spacers. Now take the billet spacer and the supplied nuts come with it and install into the strut. Alright, one thing I noticed while trying to put these struts back on is that the bracket, when I got to rotate the strut 180 degrees, the bracket is tilted just a slight degrees off. So what I had to do was take a spring compressor and compress the spring on the strut, and now I'm going to rotate this 180 degrees. Now you're ready to reinstall the strut. we got our passenger side back together. Got everything in there. Very tough job. We got it. And also, just like finishing up on the driver's side, putting the caliper back together, tighten the lower strut mount bolts or nuts. Got all three of them nuts up there tightened, and we gotta tighten our tie rod in and our sway bar, and then be ready to put the wheels back on it and let her on the ground. As you can see, we got the lift installed. Took a little bit of time to do it. Of course, we had to get some spring compressors and compress the springs on the front with the help of my dad. And then it's a two-man job trying to squeeze them struts back in there. But anyways, we got it, and I didn't get to film it all because, you know, sometimes you just get busy and you don't get to film everything, you know. But anyways, we got it, and it's up in the air now, and just likes finishing up on a few things. Also, I have got to get me a bigger SD card for this GoPro. I am losing all kinds of content by not having it. But anyways, I hope you like the install of this lift on this Dodge here. Please hit the like and subscribe button for more content like this, and I'll see you next time.